Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Friends, what you have before you now is the exact same resolution that was approved by this body in the 21-22 session, as well as the 23-24 session. We can make this 3 in a row tonight with your help. It establishes the path that we mentioned earlier of a convention of states to propose amendments as a way of bringing change to the federal government. You'll find that there are 3 sections or 3 segments in this proposal, this resolution, that again would impose fiscal restraints on the federal government, would also limit the power and jurisdiction of the federal government, and limit the terms of office for its officials and members of Congress. That sets the agenda for any convention of states. Thus far, 19 states have signed on to this very same wording. And that's a critical part of the Convention of States process. You have to have the same subject matter, the same wording to reach the 34 state threshold wherein Congress is triggered to enact a convention of the states for proposing amendments. So I want to address something that you'll hear a little bit about, maybe preemptively, about a runaway convention. There are some people who mistakenly believe that the original Constitutional Convention in 1787 was a runaway because what came out of it was a new constitution. So how do you decide if the delegates exceeded their authority or not? Well, in the words of James Madison in Federalist Essay number 40, you go and you look at the charges that they were given. You go to look at what the states told their delegates to the Philadelphia Convention that became known as the Constitutional Convention. As you look through those calls, those directions from the states, 10 of the 12 members who attended, 12 states who attended the convention in Philadelphia, had given to their delegates plenary authority to do whatever was necessary to help the exigencies of the moment, basically the crisis that they were in of having too weak of a central government. So the Convention of States and the idea of calling a Convention of States that came out of Congress tells you that this is a legitimate process. And what they did was ratified by the necessary 9 states, eventually all 13, and we became the United States of America. All right. Now, you'll hear something about a runaway convention. I don't want a runaway convention. Jay Adams, you want a runaway convention? Anybody over on that side of the aisle want a runaway convention? Anybody up in the gallery want a runaway convention? Where is this runaway convention? It ran away. There is no such thing. The convention is bounded by its own authority because its Congress is not running the Convention of States. That's the wonderful magic of it. You see, friends, we have a charge. We here serving as state legislators, we have been given a wonderful charge by our founders and by the people who sent us up here. And the charge is to help the national government stay on track. $36 trillion debt. That's what we have right now. I encourage you, might be disheartening news, but go to the debtclock.org and look up the debt of the national government currently right now. You'll find that it's about $36,212,437,637,000 plus change, changing every 10 minutes. Okay. We cannot continue to spend ourselves stupid like this and expect good results. There has to be a restraint upon spending from the federal government. Now, this is a bipartisan issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is not a Republican issue. This is a bipartisan American issue. Do we spend ourselves stupid? Do we spend ourselves into such a monstrous debt that our children are left to pay it off? $36 trillion. You know, in 2020, the amount was $24 trillion. So we have added another $12 trillion in 4 years. That is unsustainable. Well, the charge we have as state legislators in Article 5 is to call the Convention of States to propose amendments to impose fiscal restraint upon the federal government because they obviously are not going to do it themselves. But we have that power. We have that authority granted in Article 5 of the original Constitution to do that convention of states. 36 trillion. 1 million seconds was about 11 days ago. 1 billion seconds is about 32 years ago. 1 trillion seconds is 32,000 years ago. We are on a path that cannot be sustained. The federal government does not seem capable of enacting the changes necessary. And this is where we come in as legislators. This is where we answer the charge, either with a yes, we'll step up, we'll do the right thing, we'll call the Article 5 Convention of States to propose amendments, or we'll just sit by the sidelines and watch our country go in the dumpster financially. That's a terrible legacy to leave to our children and our grandchildren. So I would encourage your support. 19 states have already enacted the language for the Convention of States. It would be wonderful to have North Carolina become the 20th. We get it passed here in the House, it has to go over to the Senate. And when the Senate ratifies it, we would become the 20th state. Still a long way away from the 34 states that are necessary before Congress is enacted to call the convention. The Congress's role in all of this is administerial. They call the convention, determine where it's going to be, and then the convention takes hold. One thing we have lost in our culture is the idea of what a convention of states is. There were numerous conventions of states in our country before the Constitution was enacted in 1789. There were several. Remember back to your history class, the Stamp Act Congress. The colonies assembled themselves in convention to protest. Think of the First Continental Congress. The colonies again called themselves into a Congress to oppose some of the things that were being done to them by England. The Second Continental Congress. And then between the Second Continental Congress and the Constitutional Convention of 1789, there were about, I think, 14 other conventions that were held. While this may seem a strange concept to us today, it was very common back in the day when the Constitution was written and the Convention of States opportunity was written into it. So I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have. I would encourage you to vote for this joint resolution, just as we've done in the previous two sessions here in North Carolina. Thank you.